Hey everybody. So, I decided to just jump on kind of quickly. I'm still prepping to do my live. I'm going to do like a full stained glass project on the live, and in order to do that, I have to have some stuff behind the scenes ready to go. So I just foiled one of those, and I thought I'd come on and foil some of these. I did just get a new roll of copper foil, and I'm testing it out. It's a lot thicker than my last roll. Just realized I have a bunch of weird stuff out right now. It's a lot thicker than my last roll. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out if I like it or what I can do differently, because the one that I have is thinner and a lot more flexible, and it wasn't adhering to the actual, sorry, that was loud, the actual glass. So I wanted to get a new roll and see if that's really what the problem was. I also washed my glass a little bit differently this time, and this is the next one that I'm gonna just have to patina on there. And I'm going to see if that's really what the cause of it is or if something else going on. So I'm just gonna kind of copper foil behind the scenes here, and I'm just gonna try and pull up the chat really quick. This is not my normal setup for what I do on here, or when I'm copper foiling, and I'm just hoping that it works. So these are actually going to be little tulips, like a little tulip flower, and this is what I'm going to be making on the live when I do a full stained glass project. And so because I have to kind of have a couple of things ready to go, sorry, I just want to make sure I have everything up on here so I can see it all. Because I have to have everything ready to go, I wanted to just foil on here. Foiling is not something I generally film. I just do it on lives now because I think it works a little bit better than filming it. I'm very concerned about the curves on this and how it's going to hold up. But we're going to make the most of it. And so basically what I'm doing is just taking this copper foil, and it's definitely thicker than the last one that I used, the only brand that I've ever used. So it's taking a little bit of adjustment for it, for me to get used to it. But basically you want to make sure that your glass is evenly placed on that copper foil. Cracks I'm not too concerned about, simply because I know that I can fix them. I will say that I did try fixing it with this copper foil, and it did not go well at all. Very upset about how it went. This foil takes forever to kind of burnish and press into the glass, so I'm not very happy about that. But I think it's just going to take a little bit of adjusting and getting used to. And we'll see. So I'm going to try, when there's a crack in it, or I have to fix anything on it, I'm going to try using that old foil that's a lot thinner and be using that to fix the cracks instead. And see if that helps, or that works better. And this is not how I normally film my lives. I usually have a different angle, so hopefully it's okay to see kind of what's going on. And I've been fighting a sickness for a while, so my voice is going. And I'm just going to speak a little bit softer than usual. And it's pretty funny, people tell me all of the time how calming my soft voice is, and it sounds nothing like when I talk in a normal tone. So I have a feeling this is going to crack on me, but that's okay. Yep, it did. And I'm going to use my old foil to try and fix it and see if that works better. I don't have a local glass shop, so I ended up getting this at Hobby Lobby, unfortunately. It's the only place near me that has anything, and I just needed one today. and it's just kind of so-so. It's a lot thicker than the other foil that I have. And on the textured side of things, it takes a lot longer to press it in. And I don't know if that's normal or not. But we're just gonna do it and see what happens. And I won't actually know if this works until I actually go to solder it. Then I'll have a better idea if I really like this, if it works, if it doesn't. But I can tell you that it's very difficult to push those edges into the glass. So after you press it in, that initial, like where you're pressing it with your fingers on the sides, you go through with your burnishing tool and you really press it into the glass the best that you can. And if you don't do it during this time, when you go to solder, it's going to lift up and you're going to have a mess and you're going to have to redo the whole thing anyway. The whole piece, I should say. You got to take it out, wash off the flux. So it's better to just do it in this moment than to hope that if it gets fixed, because it's definitely not going to go away. You're just going to run into issues later. So this isn't my favorite copper foil. I'm undecided if I would ever buy it again. There's a brand that I really want to try. I can't think of the name, but it's the one that other people really use. They also have like a black backing of it so that you can't see that copper color. And that's the one I really want to try. But I'm told that the adhesive on it still isn't kind of good enough. So I don't know if it's worth the investment or not. So there's quite a few cracks. I don't know if you can see them on here or not. But what I want to do is take my old foil, which is a lot thinner, and you can't really tell on screen the difference in them. But I'm going to see if it works better to fix the cracks on this than that other one. And it's very difficult to kind of see the angle that I'm at with filming, so just bear with me as I try to figure that out a little bit and see where the cracks are. You don't have to use as much as I'm using when you see me go over like that. I just know that the oils from my finger had touched that adhesive, and so I figure I'd rather have it on the glass than closer to the foil that I'm trying to fix. But you can use a lot less than I am. This one I can see goes all the way around, so I'm just going to do a full wrap, even though I don't normally do that. And when you go to fix it, the really important thing is, before you take your X-Acto knife to it, is to make sure that the piece that you are going to be cutting is pressed into closer to your line, closer to the other copper foil, because if it's not, when you go to cut it, it's just going to peel up and you're going to have to redo it, which is no fun for anybody. And I know that I had other cracks in here. I'm just really struggling to kind of see where they are at the angle that I'm at. And this is probably one of the more, I don't even want to say boring. I honestly do not mind foiling at all. But normally I have music on or my headphones and you just kind of zone out. A lot of people don't enjoy foiling. I don't mind it. I don't like grinding anymore, kind of over grinding. But foiling, I very much enjoy. There's just nothing really exciting about it to kind of share. So I'm doing this because I'm actually going to do a live where I do a full stained glass project from start to finish. And there's a couple of, and kind of explain the process and how it works and all of that good stuff. But there is a couple of things that I can't actually show when I do it. So in order to make this live, I have to have a few things kind of prepped ahead of time. And because of that, I think I have to fix that one a little bit. Because of that, I have to go through and kind of make a couple ahead of time. Normally I have a little bit of a different setup. But all you're doing is taking your X-Acto knife and following as closely as you can to your copper foil line. And the reason that you're doing that is because if you have something where, like, if this foil, I didn't cut it close enough, my solder would stick to it when I go to solder this, and it would create sort of an uneven line. Because your solder is never going to stick to the glass itself, it's only going to stick to the copper foil. So if it has nothing to stick to, it's going to be a straight line, but if it kind of went like that, you're going to have solder come down like that, if that makes sense. Kind of just go through and peel it off. So I do like this, being able to use this thinner copper foil to fix it. So I have to go through and cut that a little bit cleaner to kind of fix it, and then it seems to work. The copper foil that I'm trying right now is a lot thicker, and when I go to fix the cracks in it, it does not like press into the glass enough. And so I'm kind of having a couple of issues with that, and it took forever to burnish it in the last piece that I just did. But if I can use the thinner copper foil to go through and fix the cracks, it seems to be okay. So that's pretty exciting. And it's really hard to see, but this corner over here is really kind of messed up, so I'm just gonna get a little bit closer to myself really quick and do my best to do it as fast as possible off screen, because there we go. And then you just take it and you clean it up. I just had to get closer because I couldn't see. This is not how I normally make my copper foil. And then just kind of clean it up and go through and burnish it again with your tools. So not the most exciting thing in the world, but a lot of people will do it when they're just watching TV. Listening to music. So I'm just prepping for that live where I can go through and show all of the steps. There's a couple of things I can't show, honestly, just because of not having a huge space to film in. Grinding I'm not going to do because it's loud. Foiling I'll do, cutting I'll do, soldering, patina, wax, all that stuff. But because I can't kind of bring these in to wash them after I solder, I want to have something that's already soldered and cleaned so that I can just move forward with the next step. Kind of like when you watch cooking shows, they make a whole dish and then it's magically done in the oven in like 2 seconds. Sort of similar to that. But I am going to go through every single step and really talk about the things that I've learned, how to do certain things, different techniques. I'm very excited about it. One thing that I have found with stained glass is that it either works or it doesn't. And a lot of times it's not actually you. When you're learning how to make stained glass, and like a piece of glass breaks or something goes wrong, you immediately kind of blame yourself, like, oh, my technique wasn't good enough, or I did something incorrectly. And honestly, most of the time it's just the glass, or there's an outside element that you didn't kind of factor in. So if you ever do make stained glass, allow yourself grace and don't get too frustrated with yourself. That's the biggest lesson that I've learned throughout this entire process. So this foil is thicker, and because of it, it takes a lot more to burnish it in the right angle, which I'm not used to at all. Also, when there's a textured glass, it doesn't quite want to really stick to it. It's very difficult. So this is a new one. I don't know that I would ever get it again, to buy it again. But I do like. Okay, hopefully that connects me to my actual. I'm having some Wi-Fi technical difficulties behind the scenes, and hopefully that just fixed it. We'll see. But it's nothing too exciting. I do recommend if you are just starting out, because copper foiling, you know, I'm obviously not perfect at it still. It's definitely better and more even than it ever was before. But if you are just kind of starting out with learning to make stained glass, don't beat yourself up over it. And honestly, I chose this really weird pattern to do as like my 4th or 5th project. And it was huge. It was not supposed to be that big. It was a whole thing. But when I did that, I had so much copper foiling to do with it that it allowed me to really get some practice in. So my next project was actually really decent. So find projects that challenge you, and you will notice your improvement so much faster. You can watch all of the videos that you possibly want, but until you're actually doing something, it's not really going to matter. You just have to get the practice in. So I won't know until I actually go to solder this if this new foil is going to work or not. But we're just going to keep going and hope for the best. I might be on tomorrow morning to actually solder it. I'm not positive yet. This is all prep work for a live that I'm going to be doing where I show a full stained glass project from start to finish. So you just want to get it as even as possible. I know it's really hard to see with how I'm filming it, but as even as possible on each side of the glass. And all it is it just comes with practice. If you're learning how to make stained glass, like I'm a beginner, way beginner, and you just have to keep doing it. Find projects that are challenging, that can make you so frustrated, because that's when you're going to see all of your growth and all of your improvement. So then after it's around the initial one, you just go over and press your fingers in it before you take that burnishing tool. Because if you don't, and I were just to start burnishing it, the adhesive would kind of be on the outside, it would bend all awkwardly, and you would have a mess on your hands. You'd mess up the adhesive, you'd have to redo it. So initially you just want to press it in there with your fingertips, and then you go over it with your tools. Also, these tools are super inexpensive. A lot of people will tell you that they never upgrade from a permanent marker or Sharpie. I highly recommend just getting these tools. I don't know why people don't advocate for them more. It was a huge difference when I got these, when it came to my personal journey in stained glass and learning how to foil. These are significantly better than a permanent marker. and not expensive at all. Probably the cheapest thing you'll get for your supplies. So then when you can kind of press it in, the other side's, I can feel it, but this side is pretty flat against it. And then can you see those little ripples? So that's where it's not actually pressed into the glass. Some of them don't ever go away, the ripples of them in there, but most of them will get smoothed out. And you'll kind of see how it's pressed into the glass instead. So you can kind of see how smooth that is compared to what it was. And that's how you can kind of feel where it's on there. I also found that if you do this outside in the heat, it doesn't go on as well. The adhesive kind of gets a little bit messed up. So this is something that I definitely try to do inside now, which is why I have this awkward angle for filming. Eventually I would love to do this at like sunset in front of the pasture that I live by, because these southern sunsets are so gorgeous. Like so gorgeous. Now that summer's here. So here, and I know it's really difficult to kind of see, but right here kind of is where the overlap is, and it doesn't line up properly. So you just take your X-Acto knife and you follow the line as closely as possible to kind of clean it up a little bit. And this is a super awkward angle, so I'm not sure how it's going to work for filming purposes, but hopefully you can kind of see or how great my technique will be. And then you can kind of decide as you go if you want to bleed it into the line or if you want to refoil it, fix it up. So I kind of just bled it into there instead of kind of following it along. And once I solder it, you won't be able to tell for this specific piece. You'll kind of get a feel for it. If it like came down a lot, I would absolutely redo it, because that solder is what it sticks to. I'm sorry, the foil is what the solder sticks to. And so if there's solder down there, you're gonna have like a little bevel and it's gonna be really messy looking. I'm just trying to press it in again. At least when I do this outside, there's like birds chirping and it's not as awkwardly silent. I'm also under the weather and have to whisper really awkwardly. So then you kind of just go through, feel if there's any spots that feel like they're kind of pulling up, and you can feel them, the difference between it being pressed into your glass and not being pressed into your glass. And you still have to do the sides, even though you went through with your fingertips. Absolutely still do the sides. And if you don't have a roll holder, a copper foil holder, like I don't, cut a piece off of your roll, and so that way you can move it around, because if you don't, it's gonna get stuck and tangled and it's just a nightmare to work with. So that was something I learned pretty early on. And curves are a little bit more difficult for me still. They're a little bit harder to line up, but we're gonna get through it and hope for the best. Straight lines are really easy to work with. Curves, quite the adjustment to learn. for the most part, unless it's like really off center, you're not going to notice. You're not going to notice if the back has more foil on it than the front. It takes a very significant difference to kind of see that. So it's not that big of a concern. And then again, you just go through, press it down with your fingertips first. I don't know if that's going to crack or not, or if it did crack, but we'll find out. Fixing it is super easy. So I'm never really concerned with cracks. But I can feel some of this didn't really press in that well. And when you get to the corners, you kind of want to go to one corner first, press it in, and then fold it over. A lot of people will talk about having to go through and fix those corners. I personally never have, but now that I'm using this thicker copper foil, I can see why some people do. And then once it's pressed in on the sides, that's when you go with your burnishing tool to kind of get in there again and then really press it in. Because if you don't do that, your adhesive is going to be popping out the other side and it's just a mess. There's a couple cracks because I saw them pop up and I was going to try and fix them. They can be really difficult to spot while I'm on this angle. So I'll have to come back and figure out where it was. I know there was a crack on there. I'm not quite sure where it was. And then you just go through and really press it in with whatever tool you're using. Flat glass, super easy to work with. Super easy to get the angles on it. Don't have any issues, but those textured sides can be a real pain in the rear end. But this is probably the most time-consuming part of making stained glass, especially if you have a larger project that you're working on. Not too exciting. Definitely probably not that exciting to watch as I'm on here in the quiet in the house instead of outside with the birds chirping and the cows mooing. And if there's problem areas that you're really struggling with, like some of these little textures on the glass, very difficult to press into. You can find different angles, you know? It has a little different curve on each side. You can try to utilize that. You'll kind of figure it out as you go along. But this tool is significantly better than using a permanent marker, in my opinion. And then after this step of the process, you go and solder it. You clean it up after you solder it. And so after it's soldered, this is what the foil looks like. Obviously it's a different pattern, but that metal, the 60-40 solder, sticks to that. And then after that, you wash it up and you would add patina to it. So that silver becomes black or copper, or you can keep it silver and just polish it up. And then you finish it off with wax, add your chain if you're adding chain to it, and it's good to go. This style is not intended to be left outside. It's not sealed in a way that should be left outside. There's a different method called the lead came version, which is usually how you like church windows, that style. And those are cemented and sealed. So those are the ones that you would use outside. I don't know if you can really cement this style, the copper foil style. This is called the Tiffany style. I honestly don't think that you can cement it to put it outside, but I'm not positive on that. So there's a little crack there. So I'm going to take this thinner one, and all that I'm going to do is find the crack from this angle and put that on there, press it in. Before you take your X-Acto knife to it, you want to press it into the foil. The glass itself is not too important, but you want to make sure it's on the foil, because if it's not, it's going to peel up on you. And then you take, it's a lot easier if you know you're closer to it, and you follow the line as closely as possible when you're cutting it. And if you don't do that, you're going to have sort of an awkward line of solder. And see, it just peels up really easily when you do that. So I will say the thicker copper foil around the edging seems to be working okay, but I like using the thinner one to fix it, because if I used that thicker one again, it would not press into the glass properly. And then you just go through and press it in. Make sure you fix that line correctly and you're good to go. But the textured side is definitely difficult to work with and figure out how to press that in so it stops peeling up. And I wish there was a way for me to actually show you kind of how it feels, but it's not, you can't see it. Like when it's not fully pressed in there, you can just feel the lip of it, but you can't actually see it on screen. And then once it feels pretty secure on all little spots, you move on to the next one. And some glass has a different thickness to it. Different textures mess it up or make it feel different. And so it does take a little bit of kind of adjusting to finding that center again. And figuring out how to line it up properly. I noticed that black glass is thicker, like kind of significantly. And that's hard to work with. Hi Christine, I am currently copper foiling some stained glass flowers because I am going to do a live where I show like a stained glass project from start to finish. In order to do that, I have to have a couple of things pre-made so that I can make sure I can show all of the steps of it. And so this step is just called copper foiling. And it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it is part of stained glass. And since I have to do it anyway, I thought I would go on live and show kind of the process of it. But this will eventually be a little, I don't have the picture of it inside, I should have brought it inside. It'll be a little tulip in sort of a raindrop style. a raindrop design. And then once you press it in with your fingers, you go around and press it in with your burnishing tool just to make sure it's kind of in there, and then you really go around and fix it. Because right now, if you press too hard into it, the adhesive's going to kind of peel up on you if you hit it at the wrong angle, and that can be really frustrating. Yeah. So I'm a beginner. I don't know if you follow my channel or not, and not, just in general, but I'm a beginner teaching myself how to make stained glass. And so I kind of post all of my process videos, my reflection videos on things that I've learned, a lot of fail videos. There are a lot of, honestly, I thought I would break more glass than I actually do when it comes to making stained glass. But I haven't had any major issues. So this is just kind of prep work for doing that other live that I will be doing probably Monday evening. I'm not sure what time to go on with it. I'm still debating. But I did a poll on my channel to ask what people wanted to see on the lives, because I never really know what people are interested in seeing or hearing, or a lot of times I just cut glass on there. It seems to be a pretty popular thing. And they said they wanted to see a full stained glass project from start to finish. So in order to do that, there's a lot of prep work that goes into it, because I have to make a couple of them ahead of time. And this is a new foil that I'm using, and it's going okay. There is a learning curve with it. The other foil that I was using was not sticking well enough, and so I'm kind of just testing to see if that's what was really going on or if I'm missing something else. So not too exciting, but part of the process. And I will say this one does not break as much as the last one that I was using, which is very cool, but it's a lot more difficult to work with. And I won't know until I actually go to solder it if it truly is better. That's going to be the big test. Do you make stained glass? Or I guess I should say, do you foil things then, or you just mean watching it? Because I'd be very excited if you make stained glass. A lot of people don't enjoy this step of the process. I'm not sure how well this one's going to go with all these curves. But we're going to find out. Oh, so I think it doesn't show your like your username on my end right here, or maybe it does and I'm just having a blink moment. But were we talking about copper foil overlays earlier today? Also, I really don't mind copper foiling either. A lot of people seem to really not like it. It's definitely boring without having music on in the background. And this is a new foil for me. So my other foil wasn't sticking. Yes, okay, yeah, cool, cool. Thanks for joining. Yeah, okay, it's coming back to me. Sometimes the names pop up differently, or their username doesn't pop up. It shows up as like your regular name, and or sometimes my brain just takes a hot second to catch up to things. But I had to get a new copper foil roll because my last one just was not adhering properly, and I kind of wanted to see if it was the actual foil or maybe like I wasn't cleaning something as well as I should have. I mean, there's not much to really clean after you grind the glass. You're not using flux or anything yet, but I used Dawn dish soap, and today I ended up using Dawn dish soap, rinsing it off really well, wiping it down, and then also doing rubbing alcohol. But I don't think that's really the problem. I think it's just the roll of foil that I had. So I had to go out and get a new one, and this one's thicker. And it's a little bit of an adjustment to get used to. How long have you been making stained glass for? I feel like it's kind of recent. I think we kind of talked about this. And you talked about the sheets of the copper foil overlay. I have to watch that full video that you posted. Um, that one looked intense. uh, but the roll, I wish I had it inside with me. I don't, it's all outside. I used a very thick roll of copper foil that has adhesive on the back of it to do the moon overlay, and yeah, it does not stick by itself at all. 3 months, yeah, me too. I think 3-4 months. How exciting! And did you take a class to start with, or do you take classes, or do you do it all at home? Yeah, some foil is just, that's what I'm learning. This one's very difficult to work with, but it seems like it's sticking a lot better than the other one. It's just finding that angle to really get it. And I'm in America, obviously, from my accent. But are you in like the UK? I'm finding that there's a lot of people overseas that have been finding my stuff. And it's interesting. Somebody in France follows me, and I follow her now. And she's wonderful, but she just started learning how to do it. And seeing the techniques or the differences in it has been fascinating, like in the US versions or the supplies of it. So I'm always curious. UK. No class, so it's just by yourself. Good for you. And you do the copper foil method then? Obviously not the lead cane version, or do you do the lead cane version? Sorry, I don't know how loud those little scratches are against the desk. This is definitely not my normal setup. I'd also love to know like what you found the most difficult to learn in the process, and what like your favorite part has been. So I won't know until I actually go to solder if this copper foil is actually going to work for me, but just going to keep going with it. And do you post your videos? I made the mistake of asking certain people that, but I love to follow other people who are learning how to do this too. And if you post them, let me know. I will absolutely go and check them out. Really? Do you mean like the quality of them or the price of it? The lead at some point, yeah. Lead was a lot of, I think learning with lead was the best decision I made, but I am terrible at it. It is different and it's less forgiving with covering up your mistakes. Cutting, interesting. That was my favorite part, I think. Terrible at it when I first started. I mean, I'm still kind of terrible at it. My accuracy has improved so much, but I am not good at it at all. This one's a little bit off. That's okay. We can fix it. I'm actually prepping to do, I don't know if it was on here or not. Being repetitive is a little bit awkward, but people kind of jump in and head out and stuff. But I'm gonna do a live where I do like from start to finish making a stained glass piece to kind of show all the steps of the process. So I'm just prepping for it because some stuff I have to have done ahead of time because I don't have a setup till like